They always said I'm wrong, but what they doing today? I think they want me gone, but I ain't going away. They told me I was wrong, but look at my ass today. Da 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 da.
Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim along with KJ for the NFL Final Score on the Real Sports Talk Network. And it is 5:07 and the 1 o'clock games have finally ended. You want to tell me that these refs aren't doing a terrible job? The games are going an extra hour long. It's almost halftime in some of the 4:15 games, and the 1 o'clock games are just ending. I don't know. And by the way, if you didn't have the NFL Red Zone today, you really missed out because of all the overtime games, all the great comebacks. Just the Red Zone might be the greatest invention ever. We'll start with the Bears' 23-6 win over the Rams. The Bears' defense dominated, as KJ knows, because they're killing him in fantasy. And Jay Cutler played pretty average after the 10-day layoff, all the drama surrounding his last game where he threw the 3 interceptions, pushed the offensive lineman. Steven Jackson comes back from an injury. He didn't play too well. Really not much to say. Bears defense played pretty solid.
Yeah, Bears played real solid. Obviously, they played real great. Like you pointed out, they're killing me in fantasy. Big thing, though, in this game, I thought, was Steven Jackson. Like everyone said he was going to be limited. He really was. Only like 30 yards. Didn't play very much. It was an average game.
And the Bears did this without Matt Forte, too.
Yeah. The Bills, next game, they beat the Browns 24-14. Spiller got hurt in this game, which is not a good thing for the Bills because they lost Fred Jackson. Now Spiller, that's going to be horrible. I mean, they got Tashard Choice in the backfield now. But he was looking good. He stepped in real good and had a good game.
Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick played pretty well as well. Tashard Choice, former Dallas Cowboy and Washington Redskin, he comes in after C.J. Spiller catches another touchdown, ran for another one. He looked really solid yet again. He left with what you said looked like a collarbone injury. They said it was a shoulder injury, so we know it's something in that area. Tashard Choice comes in with 20 carries, runs for 91 yards. He's a pretty nice third-string running back. Brandon Whedon wasn't terrible, but he needs to cut down on the picks. And Trent Richardson really hasn't shown much so far, especially in week 1 and 3. He just has not been very productive.
He almost seems like a Chris Johnson type of runner where he's going to light up one game and then the next game he's going to be non-existent. He really didn't play much of a factor, only about 30 rushing yards, which is something you need a lot more than that.
Especially when you have a rookie quarterback as well. Yeah. Vikings 24, 49ers 13. This was the big upset. The Vikings defense looked solid, but as they pointed out, the Vikings didn't do anything special. Adrian Peterson doesn't look very good so far, but they just found a way to win. And I think the 49ers have become too reliant on the passing game. They need to get back to giving the ball to Frank Gore more, because when they're doing it, he's been successful. They're just not handing the ball to him enough.
Yeah, which is completely true. Another thing I thought, Christian Ponder looked like a really smart, good quarterback in this game. He played great, had his rushing touchdown. He did a lot of things that just looked good. And like you pointed out, they need to give the ball to Gore more. I mean, with the production he was having, about 5-6 yards a carry, they need to give him the ball a little more. In the next game, the Cowboys beat up on the Bucs 16-10. Miles Austin had about 100 yards receiving, had a good game. The Cowboys' defense looked good. And Freeman and the Bucs had a chance, but they didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, he's overthrown a lot of big throws late the last 2 weeks. The 2 games that they probably shouldn't have lost. The Cowboys really didn't impress me today. Nothing huge from DeMarco Murray or Tony Romo. But the Bucs just really were non-existent pretty much out there today. That's really all that you can say about that game. Bengals 38, Redskins 31. Andy Dalton and AJ Green get up to a 24-10 lead at halftime, only to blow it in the third as RG3 throws a nice pass to tie the game up at the end of the third. They take the lead for good in the fourth. It was 38-24, and then the Redskins do add in another RG3 rushing touchdown. RG3, I want to see him pass the ball a little bit more. Alfred Morris has looked nice. And the Bengals, I'm not 100% sure what they have. They don't have a great rushing game. Ben Jarvis Green-Ellis had his first career fumble today. And Andy Dalton's looked pretty solid today, but I'm still not too impressed by what I've seen from the Bengals so far.
Yeah, I thought Andy Dalton looked good except for the one pick touchdown he basically threw in his own end zone, which was kind of really weird, but the big touchdown he had to A.J. Green to really start off the game, that was a huge thing to get right off the bat. That really kind of propelled them throughout this game. I thought they needed that to get their team going in the beginning, but really, I mean, this was an exciting game, but in the same aspect, I mean, like you said, RG3, you got to see him passing.
Yeah, and all the defensive players, including Brian Arakpo that the Redskins lost, you saw it today because their defense did not look very good.
And for the first time in a long time, the Jaguars beat the Colts 22-17. Luck had a 300-yard passing game, but the Colts blew it in the late in the game. It was just really an average game.
Yeah, it was. Cecil Shorts caught an 80-yard touchdown pass. Everyone's favorite player, Cecil Shorts, from Blaine Gabbert. Maurice Jones-Drew had 177 rushing yards. He looks like he's back for good now from that lockout. I know it took him a little bit to get into it, but he looked really solid today. Luck had 313 yards. He made some really nice passes. You can tell, obviously, the potential everyone has seen in him. But overall, neither of these teams are just really very good teams at all. And Blaine Gabbert, to me, still looks like a pretty average quarterback at best.
Yeah, I'd say that too. I thought this game I thought it was an average game, like I said before. But you definitely can see the flashes from Andrew Luck and what his potential is to be. But I mean, this team obviously, Reggie Wayne, the production he's had this season, if you just look at it, he's been doing great.
The Lions fall to the Titans 44-41, a back-and-forth game in overtime. Late heroics from the Lions because they caught it. Nate Burleson caught it.
Ridiculous.
They caught a touchdown. He got that two-point conversion, 27-20. And Darius Reinhardt takes a 105-yard return back, 27-27. Nate Washington, who had a big game today, a 71-yard touchdown pass from Jake Locker, who probably had the best game of his career today.
We're talking 5 touchdowns in 6 minutes.
Yeah, 34-27 at that point.
I'm sorry, 6 touchdowns.
And then Werner takes a 72-yard fumble return, 41-27. It looks like the game's over. Calvin Johnson, my boy, comes up with a big touchdown reception from Sean Hill, who is better than either of the quarterbacks the Jets have.
Titus Young, my boy, comes up with a 46-yard touchdown pass from Sean Hill.
Titus Young Sr. And then in overtime, because it's 41-41, Matt Stafford left the game with a leg strain. Rob Baronis hits a 26-yard field goal. The new rule that they just instituted this year, it was in the playoffs last year, which didn't actually come into play, but this year is that if the team that gets the ball first only kicks a field goal, the other team gets a chance with the ball. The Lions had that. They were in field goal range. It would have been a chip shot. It was 4th and 1. They decided to go for it. Sean Hill tries to push forward for the first down. He falls back instead. The Tennessee Titans get a big win in this one to get their first win of the season. The Lions drop to 1-2, and they've been a pretty disappointing team so far. I've been really disappointed in what I've seen out of Matt Stafford so far this season. Although the numbers won't necessarily indicate it besides the interceptions, he just hasn't been up to the standard we expect.
Yeah, he had a good game today. He didn't throw any picks, but there was none of that flashiness from him like we all saw last year with those 400 passing yard games, those long touchdowns to Calvin Johnson. And really in this game, Calvin Johnson really wasn't doing much until
he ended up with 100 yards, but he didn't have a great game for the first 3 quarters. The Chiefs get a 27-24 win over the Saints. They come back from down 24-6 on Ryan Succop's 6 field goals today. Jamal Charles, he's back from that ACL injury today. 233 yards on 33 carries. And KJ said normally you're not going to see the running back continue to get that many carries when you're down by that much, but it was working, and Matt Castle's not going to, with all due respect, he's not going to get you back in the game with his arm, so they continued to pound the ball with Jamal Charles, worked out well, and Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints are at 0-3 right now.
What do you do?
What do you do? I mean, I don't know. They just look like a mess. Defensively, they look awful. And the fact that they were able to blow this game, Jimmy Graham didn't have a very good game today, only 16 yards. He did have a touchdown, but the Saints just don't look like a very good team right now.
They look mixed up, and they look like they don't know where to look when things are going downhill, like they did when the Chiefs were making their comeback. And with Jamal Charles, like I said, he's back. There is no discussion about that. He's back. He's the main guy in Kansas City. Had a great game today. 6 field goals, though. I think that's just hilarious how you win with 6 field goals. That's awesome.
Yeah, do what you need to do.
Ryan
Ryan Suckup had a tremendous game today. The last person to have 6 field goals was Rob Baronis, who obviously came up big today for the Titans. Chiefs get that win, and the Saints are 0-3. A lot of people still thought that was a playoff team, myself included. Some people even thought they were a Super Bowl team. Not looking that way so far.
Yeah, definitely not looking that way. The Jets beat up on the Dolphins 23-20. The Dolphins blocked the field goal, but they tried to ice Nick Folk, and that didn't seem to work out too well. So
I mean, that happens sometimes. We saw Jason Garrett do it last year, and then he actually iced his own kicker then. But the Dolphins blocked the field goal from Nick Folk, and I don't know. I think it seemed like the Jets let up a little bit. They block it, and then Nick Folk comes back out, hits the field goal, and the Jets win this game. I don't know how far off, honestly, we are from seeing Tim Tebow. Mark Sanchez has not looked good since week 1. But Tim Tebow, I mean, the Wildcat thing is just not working out.
He got hit in the head
with
a pass.
He got hit in the head with a pass today. I think if we're being honest here, both the quarterbacks on that team
There's no
suck.
good decision. It's like a presidential election when you have 2 awful people running for office.
I think some people would argue that you have that this year, but
yeah, possibly. But this is the same thing because you have 2 awful quarterbacks that I think, and I'm not taking anything. We know Tim Tebow has a winning record. Everything he beat the
so does
Steelers
Vince Young.
But. Yes, exactly. So does Vince Young. People don't pan out, even though they look good and statistically, they're not meant for that position.
Mark Sanchez, I at least see it sometimes. Tim Tebow's just, I want to see the guy do good, but he's not an NFL player. He's not going to be good enough.
Go to Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I've had it with it because it's just like they're trying him out every week. You see all these blogs written, play Tim Tebow. He's not effective in the Wildcat when they put him out there. And as a quarterback, I mean, let's be honest, he's not going to do anything as a quarterback. Yeah. If you really watched those Broncos games last year, Willis McGahee, Matt Prater, that's the reason that Tim Tebow is winning most of those games. Did he have some nice runs at the end? Certainly. But if you're going to tell me that Tim Tebow is giving them a better chance over the course of a whole game to win than Mark Sanchez, I just don't buy it.
Yeah, quite frankly, I think having Tim Tebow on this team
is hurting
Mark Sanchez emotionally. And like, just his thought process probably feels like there's somebody up his butt behind him.
He's looking over his shoulder every single play. And Rex Ryan looks like Peter Griffin in the episode of Family Guy where he gets liposuction. We're going to end it on there because it's almost Monday Night Football at this point. That's how long the 1 o'clock games took. We'll be back for the 4:15 games. Hopefully they don't go until midnight. See you guys later.
Just a little ways around the corner from fear. Be there, next year, where I'm going.